very, very excited for you to share your story with us tonight, Annika.
Thank
But
you.
just to introduce myself, so my name is Gemma. I'm one of the registered nutritionists and one of the health coaches at Second Nature, and I will be your host for this evening. Just a bit of housekeeping. If you do have any questions throughout, you can use the Zoom box to ask questions. There's also a Q&A box where you can ask questions in there too. Feel free to have conversation between yourselves, and I will pick up on any of the questions. Any comments that you've got for Annika, feel free to share as well. If you are hard of hearing, we do also have a show captions button at the bottom of the page, so there'll be a live transcript throughout. And I think that's all the admin bits for now. So, Annika, welcome. Thank
Thank
you for joining us
you.
tonight.
No, it's an
I would,
honor.
it is an honor. I'm
It is an
excited to be
honor.
speaking with you. I feel like I've been watching you from the sidelines, and your journey so far has just been absolutely incredible. I think you've been on the
Yeah,
program since January now. Is
I
that
have, yes,
right?
14
And you've
weeks.
lost 3 stone?
3 stone, 3 stone,
Wow.
1 pound now, Gems. So it's
Wow.
gone up a little bit more, but yeah.
Incredible. So I guess to get us started, Annika, I would love for you to share with us your journey, before Second Nature, pre-Second Nature,
Yeah.
anything to do with what got you to joining the program and really your journey with weight loss. What's gone well for you? What's not gone well? Everything that you want to share.
Thanks. So, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Anneka Wilkins. I've been on the program, as Gemma said, now for 14 weeks. This is week 15 now. And I've lost 3 stone and 29 inches across my body. So I
Wow.
measured that this morning, so that's fabulous. I've just turned 50. I have 3 boys, and I've actually got 2 grandchildren as well. So that's my kind of life, and 2 crazy spaniels. So I have a very busy household, but weight wise, I've always struggled with weight for as long as I can remember. I had my first son when I was like 22. And I remember from that point, it was always the weight was just, I was always bigger than everyone else, even at school, actually thinking back to it. And I've
Mm.
done every diet program you can think of. I don't need to name them. I've done soups and shakes and points and sins and everything. And I've had good weight loss with some of them. So, notably, with one of them in 2017, I did lose 8 stone over the sort of 3 years, 217 to 220. And then COVID hit, and then I gained it all again. So, my weight has very much been like that, which has not been healthy. Um, I had a few problems last year, had my gallbladder out. And it was during that sort of operation that I had a chat with the consultant, and I said, look, I'm so miserable about my weight. What do you suggest? I'm thinking of surgery,
Mm.
because at that point, I thought surgery is the answer. I don't mind sharing my weight. I was all just over 19 stone at that point. The size 26, 28 clothes were getting tight. And to me, surgery seemed like the option because I've exhausted everything else. And he was fantastic. And he said to me, even if you had £1 million right now, I wouldn't operate on you, because
Wow.
he goes, weight loss starts here. And it turned out he was a very important sort of bariatric kind of doctor that was doing my gallbladder. But he said that he lectures all around the world, and he goes, until you get this right, he said, you'll gain the weight again. So I won't suggest that for you. So then he said, why don't you look at Mounjaro? And he said, he mentioned Second Nature and said that he'd heard some good things, and that he totally believed in Mounjaro and the weight loss jabs, and would recommend them to any of his family. So then I
Mm.
looked into it, and then went online. Someone I know was doing it and gave good feedback, and then this brings me to here. So I just, we'll talk about this as the conversation goes on, but I just wish I'd found it earlier, because it's just been brilliant. So
Wow.
yeah, so
That
that's
is a
kind of a
journey.
snapshot.
Thank you, Annika. No, and you know what? I find that really interesting what you were saying about, weight loss starting here because
Yeah,
it's so true. And I think that's one reason why so many people end up regaining weight because
yeah.
you can lose weight quite easily for the most part, but it's really, really difficult to maintain it
Mm.
without those habit changes. And I suppose from a habit perspective, what habits do you think you've changed since you
Oh
started on Manjaro
God, where do
compared
I?
to before?
Yeah, it's where do I start? I think I've changed everything. I know we talked about this before, but I was always a big wine drinker. So
Mm.
I haven't gone out of my way not to drink. but I haven't touched wine in 15 weeks. And it's not because I'm thinking, oh, I can't do it. I just don't fancy it. I was on holiday recently, and normally holidays would be drinking at lunchtime, eating out all the food, eating, drinking all day. And I didn't really drink at all. And I still stayed, healthy with my food choices. I think that's the difference. It's, I found the support from Second Nature and the apps and the articles. I've read everything, and I think that's the important thing. And that would be my biggest advice, would be to, if you are with Second Nature, is to read all of the resources, because they really resonate. And you think, oh my God, why didn't I know that before? Things like, why do you get that dip in the afternoon, and suddenly changing that habit from going to get the sugar hit to suddenly maybe, I don't know, eating something a bit more protein rich at lunchtime so it keeps you going, or just going for a walk at that time, or drinking more water. So for me, there's been lots of habit changes. Lots of water. I was definitely one that didn't drink much water. I've been not planning my meals as such, but kind of making sure I've got things in that I know I can mix and match. Using, just using vitamins. I think, again, we talked about this, vitamins every day. Again, I really let myself go, and just doing more exercise, and just seeing that as a collective holistically has been brilliant. And those are the sorts of habits, and just changing those, sitting in front of the telly and thinking I need to eat when I'm in the telly, or I swear that having a glass next to you, it doesn't matter what's in that glass, you just think on a Saturday night, I need a glass. So I've been having like fizzy water, or
love that,
flavored water, and you still feel like you're having a treat or a drink. So, but I think, the thing I felt the most with this so far, I mean, when I say 14 weeks, it doesn't sound that long, but it feels like I've been doing this forever.
Especially if you've changed so many different things as well. It almost probably feels like your lifestyle's just overhauled in the best way.
It really has. And I feel so much better. The energy is there. And but like I said, the habit thing it hasn't been hard for me. It's been refreshing. I think that's the right word. Just to suddenly think, oh my God, that food noise is gone. Now I can focus on me, and just have that exercise time, and have that headspace, and not be thinking, I've just eaten a 3-course meal, but I could eat another one now, or that binge. And that's just gone with this. So that, that's
and the food noise aspect, and we covered this like recently. I find that so interesting. I think food noise is something that so many people struggle with, and it's now like a recurring thing that people who are on this medication are starting to go, hold on a second, there's some sort of correlation here, because we're on the medication but the food noise has gone, which just allows people to have that space to just look at the habits of the whole and go, hold on, what am I doing here that's not really serving me well anymore? It's, as you said, like those little things, all those little tips in the articles. If someone doesn't say it to you, how would you know? If
No.
we go about our day-to-day lives, we're in routine all the time. You might not think that 3 p.m. you get that dip because you've had sugar, or maybe you've not had enough for lunch, or maybe you're thirsty. And when you start to put those little tweaks in place, it's where the biggest changes happen. So like, nice work. That sounds like you're doing really well with it.
I think the other thing as well is I've always been quite versed on a balanced plate and diets, and what works, and food groups, and what that looks like. And one of the diet providers did ask me to be one of their reps. And that's always been my thing. I'm very good at telling other people what to do, and I can stick to a plan, but then the food noise comes in, and then I'll be eating, binging. I can't just have one biscuit. I would have had the packet. And, if I had a glass of wine, I'd drink the bottle. If I had, a crisp, I'd eat them all, so
Like they're like all or nothing type of
all or
mindset.
nothing. And I think that, like, when I first started, I was a bit dubious, and I thought, okay, is it going to be stuff I've been told before about this is your plate? And, but actually people will need that, but it's the other bits, it's the head stuff about why you feel like it is, what can you do, what can you stop, how can you stop your triggers, how can you just looking at everything. And that's what I found the best thing about the program, is helping me get through that bit. And I really stand by it. It's not the cheapest on the market, but actually what you get with Second Nature has been, for me, second to none. So
Let's talk about that, because I am really curious, and I'm sure other people on the call and who's watching
yeah,
this now online. What is the difference for you between, doing the medication by itself
yeah.
or choosing a program like Second Nature? What were the factors that made you pick our
Yeah.
program over just doing the medication on its own?
So, like I said, one of my friends had done it already.
Mm,
And also the consultant had recommended it. So it was already quite high, but I did research. I look at a lot of the high street pharmacies, some of the ones you see on social media, and I could see they were a lot cheaper. But what I really liked about Second Nature was straight away on the greeting website, once you do the quiz just to do your answers, it already started to sell itself with the holistic approach. And I think that was the reason I joined here. And I love the fact there's a coach. So for me, I'm quite active on the social media channels. Some of you might have seen me on some of my videos where I just chat to
love
myself.
them.
Thank you. But I get a lot of feedback and a lot of questions. And it alarms me hugely when people message me and they say, how do I do my injection? What am I meant to eat? What am I doing? How do I know
Like
if I
the
go up?
very basic
Yeah.
things.
And
Yeah.
someone I know who may be on the call, may not be, they're with a provider who automatically put their milligrams up without consulting them. And even though they said they didn't want to go up, it wasn't a choice. It was, you are getting
Wow.
this. And then they've been really poorly. So it's those kind of things which is why I think we need to be shouting about Second Nature a bit more. And I'm not here to do a sales pitch. It's a genuine thing. I see it firsthand from the competitors. And yes, you might get it cheaper, but you're just not getting that support. I have a fabulous coach called Debs. She coaches my group, and the group. We're quite lucky because I know the groups can vary in size. I've got about 20 on my group, and they're really chatty. It's great. We have
Love
chats
that.
out. We have chats outside the chat, and we're always encouraging each other. And we'll
That's
all.
what we love. We love it when
Oh
people
God,
become friends outside of the
so
group as well.
good. And you can just go, oh, I'm having a really rubbish day. I don't know what to do. And people will be really supportive. So that for me, I didn't love going to the weight loss groups that you used to go to every week, and
Mm,
you get Barbara in the corner that would
you
say,
have to stand on the scales and
oh,
get weighed in front of everyone.
I don't know why I haven't lost this week. And they'd say, what have you eaten? And she'd say 3 fish and chips, pork kebabs, and a burger. And I didn't respond well to those. But this is much more tailored, and it's user friendly because it is online and you don't have to actually go anywhere. And the app is brilliant. That isn't something you get with everything. Some of them do offer that, but I love the fact you can food track, you can journal. I love looking back on my journals. And I would say, anyone listening, do the journaling, because you forget how you felt at the beginning. And I've got things like, I remember I was looking at it today, and it said, I'm really scared. I'm starting the journey. I don't know what to expect. I'm scared of the side effects.
Wow. I bet you look back now and just
Yeah, and
like,
I'm
oh
just
my
like, I
God.
had nothing to worry about. But I think it's good to look back, but also keep a food journal, because that really helps. Now, whether you use the journal on the app or something like NutriCheck, I do use both. And it's not because I'm calorie counting, but it's because I like to see what I'm eating, see if there's any connection, if there are side effects, if I have a dodgy tummy, is that something that I'm having that's reacting?
And that's you getting to know your body,
Yeah,
which is the most important thing at
exactly.
the end of the day.
Yeah, and just checking that I'm having enough protein and enough of the fiber and the carbohydrates, and
Mm,
just sort of sticking to one food group. So I use that, and the food journal is great, because if you are having a tough time, maybe you've plateaued, you can say to your coach, here's a snapshot of what I've been eating. What do you think? Or you can speak to, like, yourself or one of the nutritionists. So
mm.
it's just, like I said, it's the holistic kind of package. So it's brilliant.
I love that. Just as a coach, because I've been working with Second Nature for over 5 years now. And there's a reason why I've been with the company for so long, because I
Yeah,
know I'm biased, but the app and the tools are excellent. And we're really there to support people in a way that's sustainable for the long term. Because,
yeah,
like you said, you can go, especially with medication, medication's a completely different
yeah,
kettle of fish.
yeah,
Like, you need the support there, as you would with
yeah,
any other type of medication.
yeah.
And people are learning. And I think that's the
I
thing,
think,
right? People come onto the program,
It
They learn
is.
things that they might not know, and being able to use the tools alongside that, like your journal. Gosh, when
Yeah.
you look back in another 3 months and
Yeah.
you go, wow, from today in those 3 months, how much have I learned?
I
Being
know.
able to track your food, being able to just do the things that feel aligned to you, that's
Yeah.
where those changes are made, even if you don't realize it at the time. So
I
I'm
know.
really, really glad that you're
Thank
having a
you.
positive
I've learned so
experience.
much, honestly, because you do arrogantly think I know everything about food. It's fine. I can't stop eating. And it's not that, is it? It's like you need
No.
to understand it. I've learned new words that I didn't even know existed.
What have you, yeah, talk to me. What have you learned? What have you
Well,
learned?
dopamine hits, that was one of them. There's a
Hmm.
few others that escaped me, but I'd never heard of things like that. Or, you know, um, again, it's escaped me the two types of carbohydrate.
Oh, like complex
Yeah,
and
never heard of
simple.
that. And
Yeah.
I thought I was a
Yes.
genius on a food plate, but no, clearly not.
But once you understand as well, like the difference between simple and
Yeah,
complex
yeah,
carbohydrates, the impact they have on your body, if they're
yeah,
going to keep you feeling fuller or are they going to cause a blood sugar spike and then leave you
yeah,
feeling hungry and tired, when you
yeah,
start to learn, actually, no, this isn't working for me, I don't think you'd ever go back to not knowing. Because I think once you know
no,
these things, it's really hard to unlearn them because they are the
yeah.
basics of nutrition.
And I love the fact, I know that the articles do stop at some point, but I love the fact that it's every week and it keeps going, and every day there's
Mm,
something. And then the stuff that you guys put out on social media, I think is fabulous as well, and it does give you ideas, and the sharing of recipes and things like that. So,
I love that. I want to speak to you, going back to what you were saying about
oh,
mindset,
okay.
what we were saying, because I do think that mindset is the key player here. And what we were saying with the articles and like reading, because every week will be slightly different in terms of content and what you're learning. Do you feel like the content and reading the daily articles is helping to shape your mindset in a different type of way?
100%. Literally, I think if I was just doing the jabs, I really don't think I would have been as successful as I've been so far, because they really make you think. And I've seen it today in our group chat. One of the ladies says, "Oh my God, I've read the article today and it really resonates with me." And then Debs has then suggested some stuff. And I think I can really associate with that. It's it's really, mindset's everything. And I tend to give up quite quickly, but I don't feel like I'm on a program. I don't think about being on a diet. I don't feel like I'm on a diet. Before it would be, oh, I can't have this, I can't have that. I
Mm.
just feel like I'm eating normally, and life is normal. And the weeks fly by, and I think to myself, oh my God, I've got to jab today. And the week's gone by then, because I think I'm
Mm.
at my optimum kind of level dose now.
Of
I don't
course.
I don't get those dips with the hunger. So I'm okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's days when I am a bit hungry, but then I'll eat more. So it just
Of
balances
course.
out. So mindset's been everything. And definitely the actual articles and the support have definitely helped, because the coach will say, let's think about this week. And you do think about it, and then you let her know your
Mm.
ideas, and it's all very good. So yeah, couldn't have
Love
done
that.
I couldn't
And
have done it without the articles 100% if I was just
uh,
on my own.
Robbie will be very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
I think like the articles as well, like we always the feedback that we get is like, oh my gosh, it's come at the right time. And I think this is from, member feedback over the years that we know there's certain points where people will struggle. It's like, for
Yeah,
example, weight plateauing. It happens to everyone. If
does.
we lost weight every day,
Yeah,
eventually we disappear. But it's a normal part of the body. You need to adapt. Your body needs to adapt. And I think whether you're on the medication or not on the medication, you're not going to lose weight every day. But again, it's the education there. When your weight does start to plateau, that's often when people start to spiral and their mindset starts to go, well, what am I
yeah,
doing wrong? Should I eat less? Should I exercise more? And it's like, well, actually, when you put the science into it and you go, it's just your body taking time to adjust.
yeah,
It's completely normal. It takes that pressure off you. And again, that then helps with mindset as well. So hopefully that will be, another bridge to cross.
yeah.
But fingers crossed, and that articles will come in handy for that as well.
I do get a lot of questions about plateaus, actually,
Do
on my
you?
social media page, and also I've seen it in the group chat on here, also
Mm,
on my chat. But and I think the worst thing you can do is compare yourself to other people. Um, I have been fortunate that I have lost every week consistently. The only week I gained was when I was on holiday, and that was okay, but that came off again the week after. So it probably was water retention, I think, more than
Exactly.
anything. But I get so many questions or worries from people saying, I'm just stuck at this, I'm stuck at that, or I've only lost this in that time. What am I doing wrong? And my answer is, if you think back to other weight programs you've done, would you have lost
Mm.
what you've lost in that time? No, you absolutely wouldn't have. So
That
you
is solid question. That is a great
so you
question.
have to celebrate the win, because you know you can look at other people. I know my diet was disgusting before this program, and I dread
Mm.
to think the amount of calories I was having. So of course, cutting out the food plus the wine plus the sugar,
It's
you
going to have an impact.
um it's it really has an impact. And you just, I dread to think, I've probably a quarter of my calories now I'm having, and I'm having the right amount now. But I know that that's why. But I'm sure I will plateau at some stage soon. But there's other people that are saying to me, I've only lost £10 in a month. And I'm like, oh my God, that's great. But I think it's just to push through the plateau, just carry on what you're doing, carry on with the water, carry on with the exercise, and then it will just start to drop off again. And it won't last for long. It won't last forever. It's just, like you said, it's the body getting used to it and saying, what on earth is going on here? So, yeah. Oh, I've frozen. Don't know if that's Gemma that's frozen or me. Bear with. Oh, it's Gemma. Okay. I'll just chat to you all for a second. Let's have a look at some of the Q&As while we're here. So Susanna said, have you noticed things just don't taste as good? My example is chocolate. Yeah, it's funny, it's things don't taste as good. Some of the things, your taste buds definitely change. It's interesting. I'm finding that I used to love fish, and now when I'm eating fish, it just tastes awful. And I know that's not as exciting as chocolate, but it is weird. And there's some things I'm tasting that just taste horrible. So yeah, let's have a look. Is anyone else? We'll add a link, yes, to the chat as well. Anyone got any questions while we're just waiting for Gemma to come back? If you just want to type it in the box. I'm trying to think what else I can talk to. Oh, Gemma's back now. Hi, Gemma.
I have no idea what
That's
just
okay.
happened there.
What we just did there was we just answered Susanna's question about
Thank you.
chocolate and things not tasting as nice after you start. So I was
Well, that's
just
interesting. In what way did you notice that things don't taste as nice?
well, so Susanna commented that she doesn't particularly like the taste of chocolate now, and is there anyone else experienced that? So I was just saying that I struggle with fish now, and also I love my yogurt and fruit and nuts in the morning, but I've noticed in the last month it doesn't taste the same. Like taste buds are definitely changing,
Interesting.
and when I do have something potentially high fat, like I like a chicken kebab from the kebab shop, the cube.
Mm.
I had one the other day and it was absolutely horrible, but that's my favorite. And it's the same recipe, the same chef, it's not changed. And I was like, oh, I can't eat this. So,
Yeah, it's got to be. And also, I
yeah,
guess as well, if you've reduced sugar, you've reduced maybe processed food, your body's probably starting to taste foods in a different way again. It's like a
yeah,
lot of people say
100%.
with like sweets and chocolate that they then start to notice a
Yeah,
difference in fruit when they
yeah,
start to actually taste like the
definitely.
real sweetness of the fruit.
Yeah,
It's so interesting what the body does when
yeah,
you
it
get used
does.
to it.
But it's all good,
It
But
is.
and I think I said before on another chat, whole foods. I never thought I would enjoy whole foods as much as I do. So what I mean by that is, having your I'm just really boring. I have my salad a lot of the time with salt and pepper, and I won't have any dressing. And you can taste every single bit of your salad, and it's so good. And just things that are very plain and boring, but you just appreciate them because they just taste amazing. And
But sometimes the plain things are
yeah,
the
just
best,
the best.
especially when they're whole foods.
You don't need to
I
have loads of sauce.
Oh, I did it earlier when I've made. You get like and I always say like if people are trying to improve their fiber and their protein intake, if you get the like a can of beans, chickpeas, mixed beans,
Yeah,
pop them in the oven with oil, spices, herbs. It's easy, and so it might be boring some people, but you're
yeah,
getting all the nutrients, you're
yeah,
getting all the flavor, and the more you eat those foods, the more you
yeah.
appreciate the
But
flavor of them as well.
I was very much a white carb person. So loads of pasta, cheesy sauces, extra cheese, more cheese and cream. And I would probably have pasta every day,
And more cheese.
lots of potatoes. I'm half Polish, so all the Polish food is very high calorie. So, just I've made the decision not to eat white carbs. Now that's my choice, but that's what I'm doing. So I've
Mm.
replaced white carbs with other carbs, like sweet potato, or I'll have whole wheat pasta or whole wheat bread. But it definitely has made a difference. So yeah,
And that's it. And I think if it works for you, that is the
yeah,
most important thing, and you've got
yeah,
to go with that. And the
definitely.
thing is, it's fine to have those simple, like white carbs from time to time. But
Yes,
a lot of people notice when they do have the starchier, complex
yeah,
carbs, keeps them feeling fuller for longer. They've got more sustained energy,
yeah,
doesn't feel like as fatigued after eating certain foods.
yeah,
And yeah, it goes back to that individual approach. Works for you, you've got to keep at it.
yeah, definitely.
So we have had a lot of questions come through for you. So
Okay.
one of the ones that I want to ask is, so this was from Jen's group.
Okay.
So Jen had said, right, so do you always eat 3 meals a day? And how do you manage portion control? So I think that ties in quite nicely to what we've just been talking about with
Yeah.
diet.
So I do aim to have 3 meals a day. Um, the downside, I suppose, on the weight loss drugs like a GLP-1 is that you do lose your hunger as such. So sometimes it's
Mm,
easy to get drawn into work or get drawn into your day and forget to eat. And it's really important to eat. So I will make myself have breakfast in the morning. I typically will have yogurt and fruit and nuts for breakfast. Or if it's a slightly later breakfast, I'll have 2 bits of wholemeal toast with poached eggs,
nice.
and maybe some ham and some spinach or something. Or if I'm in a real rush and I'm really not feeling the hunger, or I can't face food that day, maybe a day after dosing, I'll have a shake. I'll have a
Hmm.
protein shake because I always check the sugar though, to make sure they're not
What
too
do you
high.
tend to add into your protein shakes?
These are pre-made ones that I'll have. So I
Mm.
don't tend to, but like I said, I try and use the ones that are as low sugar as I can.
Mm. Have you
But
tried any of the Second Nature smoothie
I haven't,
recipes?
but someone else said to me to do that.
They're so good. There's you've got the very smoothie and the green smoothie. I know if anyone on here is a Second Nature member and they've tried the smoothies, hopefully you will appreciate them. But they're really good. And the thing is as well, I think sometimes when we're having the pre-packaged ones, we don't know what's being put into them unless we're looking at the
Yeah,
ingredients. Whereas
exactly.
with these, you put your milk, you put yogurt in there, you put whatever
Sounds
nutrients. So
lovely.
even if you need something on the go, packed in, it's going to fill you up,
Yeah,
especially if you're not super hungry as well.
yeah,
It's almost you can make it as light or as decadent as
yeah.
you want.
That sounds lovely. I mean, I don't, I do have 3 meals a day, but to Jen's point, they're not always big meals. So I just try and have
Mm.
something. I'm trying to do about 1,500 calories a day, even though we're not calorie focused with this program. I just try and aim for that at least, but I'm not to the point. It
Hmm.
just gives me an idea. And the balanced plate, I do have one of those plates that has the portions on it. So,
They're brilliant. It's
oh,
also
it's
such a good
amazing.
visual reminder
Yeah.
because I think that's the one thing, like in the beginning, you need to take
No.
time to get used to
Yeah.
actually balancing out your nutrients. You're not automatically going to look at your plate. Whereas if it's in front of you, you go, okay, protein, fat, carb, you've got it
Yeah.
in one kind of thing.
Yeah. It's brilliant. Those plates are good. So I would recommend those. But I do try and eat 3 meals a day, Jen. And but like I said, they're not always big. And if I don't fancy something, I might have some soup that I've made myself, or a shake, or just keeping those fluids up and the protein up, because you don't want to get ill or have any muscle wastage. So,
and also it's getting yourself used to it, isn't it? Because I
yeah,
suppose when you start to reduce the medication or eventually maybe come off the medication, if you've got those habits in place, it will just make it that little bit easier for you if
yeah,
you've already created a routine that feels quite habitual for you.
yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's the answer to that one. But I understand that, we can talk about, there's a question about dosing in a bit, but I understand that when you've had your jab, I tend to not be too hungry 2 days after my jab. So not the day off, but
Mm.
48 hours later, I do sort of forget to eat. So I have to kind of remind myself. And I have heard some people actually set clocks as reminders to
Yeah, so
actually
that's something we say,
eat,
like, schedule
eat.
in on your
Yeah,
calendar, set a reminder. It's the same as people who really struggle to keep hydrated. Always
yeah,
say, like, setting those reminders. It might sound so silly to do it, but sometimes the day gets away with you
it
and then you
does.
forget, and then it might be
It
4 p.m.
does.
and you go, oh my God, I've not eaten anything
Yeah.
today. So I think that's really important. And yeah, it's interesting. I've just seen in the Q&A that Caroline has asked, how did you know when to move up with the jab titration? We've also got another question which ties in well with this about the dosage that you're on.
Yeah.
So I guess speak to us about the dosage, how that's worked from the beginning to now, and how that's changed for you.
Okay, so I started on 2.5 milligrams like everyone, and I was very fortunate. I had no side effects with 2.5. So after a month, I'd lost a stone in my first month, which was amazing. And then I went up to 5 milligrams. Now, I did have a few side effects with five. Um,
Hmm.
just a bit of a dodgy tummy on the second day after dosing. Nothing not manageable, but it was noticeable that it was
Of
every
course.
second day after. So every Friday I knew I need to
It
be
was
at home.
coming.
Yeah.
Mm,
That need to be near a bathroom. So it was but like I said, it wasn't debilitating that I was in bed or anything.
mm,
And I did have a bit of nausea with five. And um but interestingly, when I was talking to Second Nature team, I moved up to 7.5 because sometimes moving up the dose can actually help with some of the side effects. So actually, I moved
mm.
up to 7.5 and I've had no side effects on that.
Oh,
And
interesting.
and actually on five, I was still feeling hungry by about day 4 or 5. So I had to use willpower for the second days. So I think it
Mm,
is looking at, what level works for you, because now I've been on 7.5 for 2 months. So this is my second month on 7.5 and I've just hit the 3 stones. So for me, it's doing what it needs to do at
of
that
course.
kilogram. So I think I probably will go up. I am starting to feel it slightly now. I will go up this month to 10, which is frightening. It just sounds like such a big number. But I think it's really important just to go with your own body. So if
Mm,
you're feeling those hunger pangs midweek, then that probably is a sign you need to move up a dose. But you have to weigh it up, because I know some people get really bad side effects. But on the whole, I'm not hearing too much at the moment from Mounjaro. I think it's mainly
no.
of some of the
And
other.
I think it ebbs and flows as well. And I think the other thing to keep in
Yeah,
mind is that some people will say, "Oh, I've got the hunger pangs," and then it goes, but are you eating? Because,
yeah,
if it's almost like eat enough first, have your 3 meals. If you're still feeling really hungry
yeah,
after that, then that's a conversation to have with your medical team. But it
yeah,
is, and like, I think from a coach perspective, conversations that I've had, like the side effects really vary. I think common ones could be headache,
yeah.
nausea, just feeling a little bit sick, bit
Tired.
fatigued,
Yeah,
diarrhea. But again, some people don't get anything. So I think
yeah.
it really, really just does depend on the person.
And I think, like I said, going back to what we said earlier about journaling and keeping a record of your food, I know that salmon, for whatever reason, does not like the weight loss drug. So
Mm,
for me, I can't eat salmon now, but that's okay, because that's fine. I know that now. But other people say they can't eat spicy food. If they eat spicy food, it then causes a reaction. I
just,
don't
I guess it affects the way that
different
foods
people.
are digested as
Um,
well.
but yeah, so that would be how I say I've managed it. I've taken advice from Deborah, the coach, and just kind of
Mhm.
chatted it through, and just tried it. You know, you can always come back down a dose if you don't agree, if your body doesn't agree with a dose.
Exactly. And I
I
think
hope
that's the
that
beauty of
helps.
having that support, because if
Yeah,
you were going this alone and you didn't have anyone to talk to, it was almost be, well, who do I reach out
yeah.
to speak to about these
Yeah.
side
Well, like
effects?
I said, there's one of my ex-colleagues who's on the call,
Mm,
and I know she's had exactly this with her provider. It's like, who do you talk to? And when you're saying, I'm really ill, I don't want to go up, but then you're forced to go up, that's not right. And that's
no, of
what I like
course.
about the authenticity about Second Nature. It's not a money-making thing. It is to do the right by people. And I think
Mm,
that's what screams out.
yeah. We genuinely care. We do
I know you
care. You know,
do.
it's why we love what we do. And we have had a question as well. What is something that surprised you about Second Nature since joining?
Wow. Okay. What has surprised me? Um, I mean, I'm not sure whether you mean the business or the actual
I
program.
would say, well, I mean, the question didn't come from me, but I would say, as a collective, has
Yeah.
anything surprised you about Second Nature since joining?
I just think, it is better than I thought it would be. I really just thought it would just be here's your medicine, here's someone you can talk to on AI, and that's it. And I think it's a holistic program, and it's just really impressed me. And I think from a medical point of view, I've been really impressed
Mm.
and surprised with how effective it is. And yeah, I can't sing highly enough, you can probably tell.
No, I love
I'm a
that.
walking
And
advert.
no, and that's it. No, but also I think, and that's it. Everyone's going to have such a different experience. And I
Yeah,
think it's so important to hear this, because, we are still really starting out in a lot of, just the field when it comes to health. And it's now we're at a point where we want people to know who Second Nature is. We've always wanted people to know who Second Nature
yeah,
is, but now especially because we want people to feel supported. We want people to know that they don't have
yeah,
to go on this journey on their own,
yeah,
but we also want to help people to create changes that they're going to be able to stick to for the long term.
yeah.
Because, like any program, for the most part, you're probably not going to stay on it forever. But,
No,
to be able to set yourself up with the habits,
yeah,
to be able to create those so that you can be healthier and happier for the rest of your life,
yeah.
that as a coach and, as a business, that's probably the most rewarding feeling that you can
Mm.
get.
No, it's brilliant. And I think the fact that you've partnered with the NHS now and one of the leading insurance companies, I think
Mm,
that speaks volumes. No one else is doing that. And my social media feeds are just full of codes. Well, they're stopped now, but the codes for some of the competitors. And that just feels, they just want people's money, I feel. Whereas this is a program. But you have to make the effort yourself. You're not going to get
Oh, of
anything
course.
back.
Well, that's it. Like we will be there to support
Yeah,
you as much as we can, but it's
yeah,
very much a two-way street. And I
yeah,
think a lot of people will come to us. Maybe people who are watching this today
yeah,
might be in the contemplation phase. We need to think about the stages of change. Some
yeah,
people might join a program, they might join our program, and I know I've seen it a lot of the times over the
mm,
years where people think they're ready to make a change, because in the beginning you're very motivated, but then,
yeah,
if your weight starts to plateau, you don't start to see those changes straight away, you go, oh, what am I doing this for? I can't be bothered. And then you give up. And
yeah,
that's what we're there to kind of support you with and say, it's okay that you're feeling like this. Like,
yeah.
everyone goes through this. You're not, the journey to weight loss and improved health is not linear, and it's
No,
a really challenging path. And I
it's
think
hard.
you've
It
got to
is
lean
hard.
into the challenges.
You
You've got to
do,
lean into
you
the challenges,
do.
because it's where you learn the most.
And just going back to that plateau bit, what I meant to mention earlier was just make sure you
Mm.
measure yourself, because when obviously you can see it in your clothes and you feel a bit
Hmm.
better, but to actually see those measurements is brilliant when you're plateauing, because you might think, I haven't lost anything. Oh, this is rubbish. But then you measure yourself and you'll find that you've lost inches.
Exactly.
I've lost 11 inches on my waist in 14 weeks.
Wow.
So, I mean, first of all, that's
That
great.
is yeah, that's
That's not,
it's not gross.
it's,
Reframe that, reframe
yeah,
that.
but you just think, oh my God, that's just like a small child. It's,
Mm.
it's like,
But you probably also wouldn't have noticed that had you not
no,
been doing the measurements, because you
no,
just would have been fixated on that number on the
yeah,
scales.
exactly.
And it's also
Yeah,
the same as what I say to people, because a lot of people start exercising more, we've got to maintain our muscle mass, especially as we get older. But what people don't realize is that muscle weighs more than fat. So they
Yeah,
might go and stand on the scales and go, okay, well, I'm a dress size smaller, but actually my weight's gone up, so I'm not
yeah,
losing weight. And then they get deflated. Again, goes back to the science of when you explain to
yeah,
them muscle weighs more than fat, do your body measurements.
yeah,
That actually keeps the momentum going. Focusing on your non-scale victories,
yeah,
improved energy. Is your skin better? What's your mood
yeah,
like from day to
yeah,
day?
definitely.
All of those things are going to tell you more.
And I think also, if you look at the graph of your weight, as long as it's coming down consistently, and you might have this on the tracker, but as
Mm,
long as it's coming down, which is why on the when you track your weight on Second Nature, they have the true weight at the bottom, just to say, your weight does go up and down, but this is what we have calculated is your true weight, and that's quite refreshing because I like to weigh quite often. Some
mm.
people I know like to weigh once a week, once a month. I like to do it so that I can see my trend. I do it most days. Some people say that's not healthy. I just like to see a pattern.
I think it goes either way, and I think
Yeah,
sometimes when you weigh in more, it can actually take, in a weird way, it takes the emphasis off that number because
yeah,
what people do is they will weigh in maybe once a month and then they get scared to stand on the scales because
yeah,
it feels unpredictable. They don't know what's coming. Whereas when you weigh in regularly, you get
yeah,
to see those fluctuations. So you go, all right, maybe I'm due on my period, so I know that there's going to be a bit more water retention.
uh-huh,
Therefore, I'm probably going to be a couple of kilos heavier. And
yeah,
again, it goes back, and then this is what helps with your mindset.
yeah, definitely. Good.
Ah, it's a minefield, isn't it?
I
Honestly,
know.
we could go all day. Um, so we had another question is, so my main interest in Anakah is her end goal. How is she going to come off Mounjaro, and how does she plan to keep the weight off once she will? Will it be diet, exercise, water, nutrition? Has she got any ideas?
I'm staying on it forever. That's it. It's like it. No. I still have about 6 stone to lose. Now, I might not look like I do from this angle, but I'm very bottom heavy. I'm like a typical pear. So for me, I when I lost weight on the other diet program back in the day, I was comfortable at around about a size 14. And for
Hmm.
me to be a size 14 or just regular clothes size, just be able to go in a shop and go, this is for me. So I know
Mm.
that where I'm at the moment, I'm just under 16 stone. So I need to get down to about 11. So I've got about 5 stone to go to kind of get to that point again. Um,
Hmm.
so there's still a bit of a journey. Um, However, I'm happy for now. Afterwards, I do really feel that mentally I feel so much better and I feel like I've learned so much. I can't predict what will happen when I stop.
Of course,
Um,
like it's unpredictable. We
however,
never know.
however, I'd like to think that everything I'm learning, I've never learned stuff like this before. And, someone asked about, does eating habits will someone said, do good eating habits completely prevent weight regain? It's not just going to be
Mm.
eating habits, it has to be that mindset as well. And I think this will give me the opportunity to kind of go, okay, why am I feeling like this? What's the trigger? What can I do differently? And just,
Exactly.
if it's an emotional situation, I've proven that I can do it for now. So therefore I can carry it on. So I imagine seeing other people's journeys that you can come off it gradually.
Mm.
I believe you can stay on like a maintenance dose if you want to, but in an ideal world, I'd like to kind of come off it eventually. But I think I've probably still got another 12 months or so to go.
And we'll be following your journey,
Oh.
Anka. And I think it's a good time now, even though you've still got a long way to go for you. It's a good time to start thinking about these things now because,
Yeah,
that's one thing when I was speaking with Sheila before, she said that the food noise is starting to come back now that she's reducing the medication. And I can imagine that that's going to be the same for a lot of people. So it's
yeah,
like, how will you manage the food noise to help you maintain the weight, but also to support your mindset? I think the things like the changes that you've made with your diet are definitely going to support that because,
yeah,
the reduction of sugar, processed foods, probably not going to feed into wanting and craving those foods on a physiological level. So
yeah,
then it's, looking at things from a psychological perspective. But it's a journey. And I think
yeah,
you're in a really exciting stage. It's probably like a lot of unknowns, like life. life is
Yeah,
unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen,
you don't.
but you're probably helping a lot more people than you know by the content that you're putting out
Thank
there,
you.
and also just by being here tonight and sharing your story.
Thank you. I mean, like just looking at some of those questions, I had all those questions right at the beginning. So, and I did read a lot. I read a lot online. So if you are considering it, read online, read everything you can.
Mm,
Someone put about the links to social media. If you go on to Instagram or TikTok and you look up Second
yeah.
Nature,
Or even just go on Google, type in Second Nature
Second
Health.
Nature, yeah,
We've got a YouTube channel, we've got Instagram, we've got TikTok, we've got all the different videos. The coaches get involved too, so you
yeah.
can learn lots of different things. But also, if you are a Second Nature member, or maybe you're not a Second Nature member, or you are curious about our medication supported program, if you go onto our website, which is www.secondnature.io, we've got guides on there about the medication, which we've put together to help you understand what the difference is between the two. What's Mounjaro compared to Wegovy and the difference they have on the body, and just really help you to get an understanding. Because I think it is important to educate yourself before doing anything or changing anything in your lifestyle. Our support team are always on hand as well, so you can pop us an email. We're happy to help where we can. But like I said, throughout this whole thing, the most important thing, we want people to feel supported, and we want people to know that they can reach out to us and know that someone is going to be there to guide them along the way.
Mm. And it is definitely that. That is what Second Nature offers. And I just wish I did it earlier. I'm kicking myself that I didn't do it, last year or the year before.
Mm,
And I know it's people. You get a lot of negativity. People are very negative about it. I did a big post about it the other week because I had a lady message me personally on my Instagram, and she said, "Why don't you stop eating? Just stop eating. Why you don't need medication. Just stop eating so much." And I just thought, as if it was if
oh,
it was
that's
as
a
if
really like
it's just
unkind
it's
message as
somebody.
well.
I'm sure she didn't mean it in an unkind way, but it's obviously
Mm,
someone that's never suffered with obesity, has never suffered with the mental health that comes with addiction of food or whatever that might be for you.
mm,
And it's just really frustrating that this time, sorry, not this time, but now I've been really public about it. I don't care who knows. I'm shouting it from the rooftops. I tell everybody I meet, I tell everyone on my social media, because, anyone that says it's dangerous, being 10 stone overweight is dangerous. I've hit
mm,
50. I've got a new granddaughter. I don't want to be in a coffin because I've had a heart attack or the fat around my heart or liver, and I'm seeing that as well. My visceral fat's coming down. All of those stats that you want to see are going down. My BMI's dropped from
mm.
49 to 43. How
Wow,
can you tell me that is dangerous when,
of course.
being fat is overweight is
I think there was a
dangerous?
massive
Yeah,
stigma because we
yeah,
think these medications have been out for a long time,
yeah,
but it's only now that they're really starting to get traction in certain fields. And I think I've noticed from like a health perspective and a health professional perspective that there was a massive stigma when it first came out, because I think a lot of people viewed it as it was just an aesthetic thing. People
yeah,
weren't looking at it from the aspect of actually, no, this is for your health. It's what we were saying before, like if you have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, you have to
yeah.
take medication for that. Why not take
I
medication to
know
support with
exactly
being
the same.
overweight, obesity?
Yeah,
Some people don't have that internal voice, they don't have the food
no,
noise. So it's very hard for them to understand, well, why don't they just stop eating? And it's like if it was as simple as that,
yeah. Oprah
we
said it, didn't
wouldn't
she?
need, yeah, like if it
Oprah
was
did
as
that
simple
big
as that, we
piece.
would not need
Yeah,
any of these things. We wouldn't need people to support others with their
yeah,
mindset and making changes to habits. But unfortunately, it's just not the way that the mind works for a lot of people. And
no,
that's why having programs like this is important, because people
yeah.
need that help.
And and that's what Oprah Winfrey said, wasn't it, on her show? She was like, I grew up
Mm,
thinking, what's wrong with me? Why are those people skinny and I'm overweight? And then she said she then realized going into, I think she was doing Ozempic, and she said, I've got something missing in my brain, and this then helps with it with the hormone. And I think that's really true. And I also get a lot of people saying you're cheating. That's another thing that I get told. It's the easy way.
interesting.
It's not easy. This is not easy. Weight loss is not easy. But I
Mm.
think people think you take the injection and the fat just
It
melts.
magically,
I
yeah,
think people
yeah,
think, oh,
yeah.
that's it, they're taking the jab, so therefore it just goes. It doesn't. You could carry on eating as you've ate
Mm.
before and you
It
wouldn't
just
lose the
gives
weight
you
with
the
it.
opportunity to make those
Yep,
changes to your diet
absolutely.
and your lifestyle.
It just takes away the noise. We'll say it again. I can't explain the
Mm.
food noise. When I talk to somebody who hasn't done the journey, they don't know what I mean. But the food noise just goes. It's just the most, I don't know, the most refreshing thing
Probably
ever.
opens up your
Yeah,
mind to think
yeah.
about things that,
Other
you spent
things.
all this time thinking about food, you can
Yeah.
think about other things in your
Yeah.
life.
And just enjoy life a bit more. I've got two spaniels, like I said, and I am quite lazy. They do get a walk with a dog walker, but I was the one that would be like, oh, I'll just take them out for 20 minutes. I'm now taking them out for an hour at a time, every time, sometimes longer, because I live right in the country, right in the field.
Ah,
And
bliss.
we walk for miles and it's up and down and through hedges and it's not proper pathways and it's so nice. And
You're
last
just getting out in nature,
yeah,
especially this time of year as well. It's like
but last night
gorgeous.
I was so tired. I thought, no, I'm not going to do it. And then I pushed myself. I said, come on, and let's just do this. And I
Mm.
think I wouldn't have done that before. I let someone's,
So it's again, I was going to say we've had another couple come in. So
yeah,
Dina said, and don't believe the press, would never have started my journey if I'd listened to them. I think
yeah,
that's very wise, very, very
exactly.
wise.
The Daily Snail, they're the ones that
The-
we the Daily Snail, just
It's just,
swipe,
I think
swipe
sometimes you've got to
left.
have that critical analysis and that critical
Yeah,
thinking, because for the most part, people will read the headlines and
they
believe that that is
will.
exactly it. It's clickbait. It's clickbait. It's
It
what
is.
people
It's
see.
never balanced. It's never a balanced opinion. There's downsides to everything we do in life, but I don't mind
Mm.
a balanced debate. I just hate it when the headline press will put things on like my life was ruined by Mounjaro, and then you read it and it's nothing to do with that at all.
No.
It's her
But
husband
this is
left
but this is
or
how they
something.
get yeah, this is
Yeah,
how they get people to read it. And it's
yeah,
absolute nonsense. So
yeah,
always, we take anything away from this, always read the full story and not
yeah,
just the headline.
definitely, definitely. But it's great to
And
see.
Kat,
Sorry, I was going to say
sorry,
it's
Bob.
great to see some people agreeing with what we're
Well,
saying.
that's what I was just saying. I was
Yeah,
reading through the comments. It's like, Caroline said, totally agree. No food noise has been a revelation. It allows me to keep motivated and focus on good choices over bad ones. And someone else has said as well, do good eating habits completely prevent weight regain after stopping Manjaro? Do you know what? I think from a coach and nutritionist perspective, I think that the good eating habits, obviously, they play a massive role. I think they have a big impact. But if you pair that with the food noise, I think if you come down off the medication and the food noise comes back, that's another challenge in itself,
yeah,
because then you're having to compete with someone going, oh, have that biscuit, oh, have that. And
yeah,
it's almost like that mental battle of having to do that. So of course, I think your eating habits can play a big role in it, but it's about sustaining, because I think weight loss is easier than weight maintenance. And that's why a lot of the studies that you'll see, regardless of the medication, that you'll see a lot of people will regain it, but it doesn't happen overnight. It happens very gradually. It's those daily habits. So I think you have to look at your lifestyle as a whole and look at your diet, your exercise, what's your sleep like, what your stress levels like, and your mindset, because as a collective, they are going to impact your weight, but they're also going to impact how you feel from day to day. It's like a domino effect.
yeah.
One habit's not going right. You have a bad night's sleep. Sleep's like the foundation. If you have a bad night's sleep, you get more cravings, you eat more, you don't want to move, and then it all kind of feeds into it. So that would be my perspective on that. I don't know what you think about that, Annika.
I think that's totally right. And I think, just talking about the sleep thing, that's really important. I've personally found my sleep has been better since
Nice.
changing. But again, there's no alcohol in my body, there's no high sugars in my body.
Mm.
Um, don't get me wrong, I wasn't sitting there with a drip with wine, by the way, just to be clear. But I
But
do like my wine.
but
But
also you don't realize with alcohol that it
no,
increases your
just hidden
cravings, and not
calories. Yeah,
doesn't just your number one, it's yes, empty calories, but also
yeah,
it increases your cravings not only
yeah,
then, but like the next day and the day after that too, where you can go, oh, you feel more susceptible to wanting a takeaway or just not
yeah.
wanting to cook or things like that. So it all
And
feeds in.
And I think but something I have heard people say is your dreams are really vivid now. Like my dreams, I have the most bizarre dreams, not horrible dreams, but just like, oh my God, what was I doing there? And
Mm.
what was I doing? And who was that? And what house was I in? And what the, just really big dreams. And talking to the group and people on Instagram, they all have that. So I don't know whether that's something
So,
connected.
I mean, I have really vivid dreams anyway. I'm not on the
Oh.
medication, but I think sleep and dreams is the one part of health that no one really understands. Like, if there was an answer for it, I mean, if anyone knows, let me know.
Just laughing at what Helen's just put.
I had a, I had a great dream about Vernon Kay
Vernon
last
Kay.
night.
He's very handsome. I do agree. And Caroline, I just want to pick up on what you've just said about menopause. Menopause and weight loss is really hard. We've only got a few minutes left, but menopause and weight loss is tough. I'm in the menopause as well. I've been taking medication for a while now, and HRT for me just changed everything. The weight just went on, and I think other plans I've done just haven't worked, but this
Mm,
has worked with the menopause, and it hasn't interfered with my HRT medicine. So anyone
that's
thinking,
amazing.
what does it mean if you are on that medication? It means nothing. It's fine. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
And again, menopausal symptoms as well. I think even perimenopause leading
yeah,
into menopause, it's the same as like being on the medication. Everyone has different side effects, like their sleep, if they're getting nice
mm,
night sweats, if their mood is, lowered and all of that kind of
yeah,
stuff. But that's really, really good to hear that you haven't had any major side
yeah.
effects with that.
Yeah, and Caroline's the same. She's just said that, it's been easier since taking the jab to lose weight on the menopause. So that's good to hear,
Wow,
Caroline. Well done.
amazing to hear. So I have one, oh, Lorraine's just said, it's difficult to break learned behavior. As a child, I was rewarded with cakes, biscuits, etc. It's about relearning healthy eating habits on second nature.
100%.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think a lot of our habits from childhood and things like something that always comes up, and my family were the same, where you had to finish what was on your plate.
Yeah.
So it's
Didn't
like, so
leave the
I've grown
table.
up, even if I
Yeah.
was full, I'm like, well, I've got to finish. And even to this day, there's food on my plate, I'm like, I feel guilty throwing it in the bin
Yeah.
because I'm like, and it is these kind of things that you have to rewire your way of thinking, because otherwise these habits are automatic. It takes a long time to rewire
Yeah.
our behaviors, and it's just, yeah, it takes time.
Yeah, it does. 100%. I came from an Irish Polish family, Lorraine.
Yeah, my
I
Irish as
had
well.
I
Feeders.
had
They were
no
just
hope.
feeders.
Feeders. You go to one house, you're fed. You go to the next house, you're fed, even if you're not hungry.
Even if
And
you, yeah, it's so true.
there's no choice, and it's actually rude to say no. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
it's
blame
hard. I think
them.
like
I blame
culturally
them.
as well. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I didn't need 8 loaves of bread today. Oh, Annika, I have one question
Oh,
to leave you with.
all good.
How would you describe second nature to a friend?
Oh, I'd say it's life changing, revelationary, and yeah, just don't think twice. It's a game changer. So I think that's it. It's just
That's really heartwarming. I love
oh,
that. Thank
it's
you.
amazing. That's
Oh,
lovely.
well, thank you so, so much for
Thank
sharing your story
you.
tonight.
Thank you for
I'm sure
inviting
everyone
me.
who has been watching has found this helpful. You've
Thank
been
you.
incredible. You are incredible. So please keep sharing your journey online.
Thank
And
you.
we know that we're going to have some videos with you. So, as I said, if anyone wants to find us on social media, if you just search Second Nature Health on Google, our socials should pop up. If you're interested about the Second Nature program, go onto our website, have a look, see what you think. You can get in touch with our support team there. And
If
that
you
is
want to
it for
follow
now.
me, if you want to follow
Do you want
me,
to
you
follow
can just
Aneka?
just look my name up. You'll find me on Instagram, Anneka Wilkins. It's
Brilliant videos.
Mounjaro
Definitely
story
recommend.
on TikTok. But thank you so much, everybody, for listening and spending an hour with us.
Like I can't believe how quickly it's gone. I
Yeah, it's
think
gone.
we
So
we
fun.
we love a chat. We love a
We
chat,
love
so
a
it can
chat.
just go quite quickly.
Yeah.
Right, fab. Right, everyone, enjoy your evening, and we
Thank you.
will